Hey everybody, Christopher K. Smith. It's my FibLines quarterly update for January 1st of 2021. So I do these updates once per quarter, and I've started this back in FibLines indicator back in 2016. So I'm starting now my sixth consecutive year of FibLines indicator. Okay, so we'll give you a brief introduction to the FibLines indicator, look at the recent stock market performance, look at some key symbols in terms of the FibLines, to see what kind of interesting insights we can get. And I'll tell you what else I'm up to, and this whole video should last less than 10 minutes. Okay, so what is FibLines? FibLines is a study that can get applied to a chart that helps you estimate, first of all, where the chart's going to go and where it's going to find support resistance. So basically the way it works is you pick this Fibonacci retracements tool that looks like this, and you draw a line from the top to the bottom of what you think level wave 1 should be. And some really interesting things happen once you do that. You'll notice that you'll get resistance right here at the 161 level and the 261 level. And these are all based on multiples of that initial move, that initial 100% move. So this level here is 161% of this initial distance. This is 261% of this distance. And these numbers have to do with what's called the Fibonacci sequence, which is a famous sequence in mathematics invented by a 15th century Italian mathematician. It has to do with, believe it or not, the way rabbits reproduce, or the rate at which rabbits reproduce. So it turns out this Fibonacci values are all over the stock market and all over nature in general. And just to get a background of the FibLines indicator, you can go up to YouTube and search for Intro to FibLines, where I take you through some of the theory of it and talk about how it works, why it works, and what it can do for you. Now, the FibLines indicator itself, once you add it to the chart, we'll draw these lines for you. And you'll see now that the lines are drawn automatically, so we can remove this drawing. And now you can see potential support and resistance areas into the future. So we can say a TWLO in this case recently hit some resistance here at the yellow line, but has some distance to go up to 420. So that's the FibLines indicator. So notice it's a combination of a mathematical calculation and also the values themselves. So the values of the 100%, 100% move are kind of baked into the indicator for about 220 popular symbols. And I update the indicator once per quarter as things change. And that's what this quarterly update is about. So let's take a look at the stock market in general over this time period. And here's the indicator with the QQQ applied to it. So back to my presentation. That's the Fib sequence. We can see we have the 100, the 161, the 261. The indicator originally ended at the 423 level, but in the last 2 or 3 years, I added the 685 and the 1108. And notice that means that a stock that goes all the way through the sequence has an 1100% increase in the move from the top of its original move up to the 1108 level. So that's a big move. So in terms of stock markets, it's been a very positive year. We have positive levels, in fact, new closing highs, the SPY, the Dow, the Russell, and of course the Qs have been outperforming for the last few years. I pointed out in my last update. And you can see long-term performance has also been very positive. SPY, for example, from the 2000s is up 155%, 235% since 2010. So, if you divide that by 10, that's 15% a year. By 20, it's about 7.5% a year. So that's pretty much what the stock market's been doing since 2000. 7.5% annual in the SPY, 8% in the Dow, and about 16% in the IWM. So some overperformance there on the IWM from 2000. The Qs didn't do as well as the IWM to 2010, but really crushed them since 2010. Up 585%, about 50% per year, if you analyze that. So very positive performance in the stock markets, and of course, new all-time closing highs. And what's really interesting was the way we did this update this year, so the way we got there. So let's take a look at IWM, which is one of the charts that has some interesting action in terms of FibLines. You'll see we had this move over here, our 100, 161 or 261. We got up to the 423 level. As expected, we hit some resistance. This was back in 2018. Tried again back here in early 2020 to make a new high. Kind of fell short of that, but then had this wicked sell-off all the way down from the 423 line to the 261, the 161, the 100, and boom, all the way down to the bottom of the channel. So huge flush in action we had there. This was a sell-off we had obviously back in March of 20, COVID related. And this sell-off took everything down about 20%. Stocks, bonds, just a huge flush there caused by concerns over COVID and the impact on the economy. But look what happened after that. Came all the way back. Not only did it come all the way back and make the level that it was early in 2020, it went all the way out and made a new all-time high. In fact, hit the upper band of this gap between the next fib level. So so huge, very dramatic recovery we had after this huge sell-off, and very impressive in terms of very impressive performance in the stock market, considering the impact that COVID's had on the economy. So very interesting. With the fibs show, we have a ways to go yet. You can see here in the IWM, we have up to 2016, 216 as it probably hit the next major level. And the Qs, of course, let me get rid of this charts thing. You can see we're at some resistance here as well, but we have quite a ways to go. Now note, when I say we have quite a ways to go, keep in mind the stock market's very overextended to the upside, both on a technical basis and on a valuation basis. So I think Apple, for example, has the highest price to earnings ratio it's had, in recent memory. So stock market is a bit overdone here, a little bit overpriced. So I do expect we're going to see some corrections, or at least rotations between different asset classes as we move into 21. So this is a pretty major release for FibLines. I reworked a lot of symbols, and in a lot of cases, as a QQQ is a good example, I reworked it so that the original this was the original 100 level, this was the 161. I basically took the 161 and made that the 100. So it's a way of continuing on the same basic with the Fibonacci sequence as you selected before. Same low as same bottom of 100 as you had originally, but you just expand the 100 up to the next level. So we can see based on that, we just rocketed right to the upside this year. The 100, 161, 100, 161, 261, 423. We rocketed through the 585 level, and again, we can get all the way up to 401. We get to the 401 on the Qs before we're at the 1108 level. So that's the interesting thing you can do with FibLines. You can sort of estimate where you're going to go based on the magnitude of prior swings. That's really what the indicator is about at its essence. Okay, so I updated all these symbols this quarterly update, and in most cases I went to a lower low and took advantage of the fact that I have the 1185 calculation in there now, and I think that gives us a truer rendering of the indicator. Let's take a look at Twitter, TWTR. This is interesting insights you get with this indicator you may not get with other ones. Is that see, Twitter kind of went sideways for a long time. Let me go to the max weekly. Didn't really do anything, not much new in the way of new all-time highs, and then recently got up here to the 423, and it looks like it's kind of stalling out a little bit. So I would say, looks like Twitter's had a good run. It's just going to take a break here, and you have earnings coming up early in February of 21. So expect it to kind of go sideways until that time. Okay, and what else? Square had an incredible year. I added some new symbols, apps, LPRO, we already looked at TWLO. Apps, interesting one, Digital Turbine had quite a move here. Wow, look at that. Rocketed right from the 7 level all the way to 53 level. The other one was LPRO, Lending Pro. It's a financial software company. And you wonder, how do I find these things? Well, I'll talk about that in 1 second, but so these are the new symbols I added, mostly technology related, CrowdStrike's information security, CRISPR Therapeutics, very interesting one. This is gene editing technology. This is a company that sells technology that actually goes in and edits the genome in place. It's incredible what it does. And you can see we got the 161. We kind of hung out at the 261 for a while here, and recently made a new broke out to a new high. So very interesting company, and also biotech's had an incredible year. And obviously with the whole COVID vaccine using the messenger RNA technology, your typical flu vaccine is grown in a chicken egg. Not so with this COVID vaccines that were done using messenger RNA, mRNA technology. So it's really amazing what the medical industry has done. to deal with COVID. And after, sort of years of underperforming here, this is the IBB, the biotech industry, not making its high that it made back in 2015 until recently just blew up to the upside. So huge here for biotech and COVID. Okay, so yeah, some other interesting stocks in here. No time to talk about them. What else am I up to? Basically, this is a kind of formula for investing I've been looking at. And you get a new all-time high in price and a P between 0 and 20. You get a list of buy candidates that's now, you can now go through, pick out quality companies, and you can add to them incrementally. You don't have to buy all in one shot because there's no commissions. So I'm giving an example of how this is done. So you go over here to Thinkorswim, you go to the scan tab, and it's basically just two elements in the scan. There's a PE between 0 and say 20. That means I'm only going to get companies with actual positive earnings. And the close being on 95% of its all-time close or highest all close, scan, and you get a list of candidates, in this case 246. You save those off to a watch list, and we can call it something like new highs 2021 0101. And then you can go over here to, you can pick that off your personal watch list. Personal watch list, new highs, 2101. Now you can set charts up and you link this display through this little orange indicator here. Now you can rifle through these stocks and you can find ones making new all-time highs. To make that easier, I created an indicator called, you guessed it, new all-time highs. And if you add that, it paints new all-time high bars in blue. So you can make it very easy to see when the stocks make a new all-time high. And added an ATR stop to that. So basically, you go through here and you just find winning stocks and make a new all-time highs. And you can also go over here to the Analyze tab and fundamentals, and you can get a quick overview of what the company does so you can see if you're familiar with it or if you're comfortable with what it does. So this allows you to determine what to trade by looking at new all-time highs. And the fact that commissions are now non-existent means you can actually buy them one share at a time. In other words, buy one share every day that it's at a new all-time high and build a position over time. And the benefit to that being you'll end up being a larger position than the ones that are winning, and the ones that are cats and dogs to go nowhere you're not going to add to. So it's as much of a selection system as it is a really investing system. So and no commissions make that possible to do it at very low levels. So this is huge for investors, huge news. Also, last one is Core and Explore, which means I heard this term recently from a financial advisor guy who runs my company retirement plan. And his basic thing was you take the core of your assets, say 90, 95% of them, and you do an asset allocation, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and whatever. And then you take 10% of that, that's the Explore part, and you trade and invest with that. So Core Explore is my theme for 2020. 90% of my money is asset allocated for the long term, and 10% is for trading and investing. So that's Core and Explore. So that's it. That's the FibLines quarterly update. In closing, if you want to get the FibLines indicator for the Thinkorswim platform, you go over here to the FibLines store, fibtools.cells.com, and you can see you can get some free indicators for Thinkorswim that I coded and did videos about previously. Or you can purchase the FibLines indicator itself for $99 for a 1-year subscription. That gives you 4 quarterly updates, and that includes FibLines values for about 120 different symbols, and that all the major asset classes, your Dow 30, S&P 5, not the S&P 500, but your NASDAQ 100, your dollar index, your where's my FibLines indicator here? Personal FibLines symbols. Here we go. And you can see all the different symbols that are part of the FibTools indicator. You got your major ETFs, you got Apple, you got your Dow 30, NASDAQ 100, and interesting NASDAQ stocks, NASDAQ 100 rejects, gold, indexes, bonds. It's all in there. That's $99 for 4 quarterly updates. That's it. Thanks very much for watching. Have a healthy, prosperous, and successful 2021. I wish you all the best. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next quarterly update.